Hi everyone, I'm back again for another episode of A Shaman in Suburbia. I want to talk with you all a little bit about the true meaning to me, at least, of the word yoga. I'm coming to you today during a very interesting time in our world, and it's when we look at this later, we're all in our entire world, which is really interesting to me, are dealing with the results of a virus. And a virus being another living thing on our planet that isn't meshing with our systems though. So carrying a different frequency than what our systems can adjust to comfortably. And of course some people's systems are going to be responding differently than others. And also, I wanted to talk a little bit about how we're all perceiving it and are thinking differently as well. So going back to what I said in the beginning, I have been a practicer of yoga for many years, over 20 years now. I came to it thinking that it would be an exercise, basically. I have been a dancer my whole life, and at the time I had started running marathons. And when I did that, of course, I got a lot tighter in some areas that I hadn't been comfortable being tight in, because I had been a ballerina and was very flexible, and I was used to that way of my body. So that's how I ended up in yoga. I ended up in yoga in a Bally's gym over in West Palm Beach. I would run to the gym, practice yoga asana, which is the poses, and I would run home. What came to be though was that I became more aware of the changes in my thinking and my physical response to worrisome situations. So I started to notice a decompression of my system. I was a little less worried about things, and at that point I was very anxious about a lot in life. I had pretty rampant symptoms of anxiety from teens into my 20s, and a little bit beyond as I began to learn new ways to handle it. And so because of that, I became really interested in what this yoga was. I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't really have an instructor. I was realizing the other day that I don't even remember the name of the first person that I took classes from. I just remember it was at the Bally's gym. And as far as I know, it was the only class that they offered, this one yoga class. I believe it was on Wednesday nights, if I remember correctly. And that was a while ago, though. So what hit me, though, was the experience that I was having. And it was a combination of things. Yes, it was the poses that we're also familiar with, but it was also being led to notice the breath, my breath. It was also laying in Shavasana, the final pose, and just laying there and letting thoughts come up. I mean, I couldn't stop them anyways. This was having an effect on me. So over the years, I just began continuing to practice, finding ways to practice. Back then I got books. I read all about it. I practiced in my apartment on the floor, and eventually moved back over to a different area of Florida where I live, and moved back to the Tampa Bay area, which I'm still in today, and found other instructors, continued to pursue this practice. And for many years, it was still probably a mostly physical practice for me. However, I began to be curious about studying it more deeply. At this point, I'd already taken up mindfulness meditation. I used a lot of the breath work that they offered in these books that I read. And I had some great instructors now at this point. So about 11, 12 years ago, I took my first training in yoga. And that was the first time I actually heard the word yoga and its explanation from the Sanskrit meaning. And the explanation of yoga is to yoke, to unite, to bring into union. And what that means for those of us that are practitioners of yoga, and also, I believe, people who are shamans, it's uniting the material world, our bodies, our minds, hearing the messages from our emotional body, uniting that with the true self inner guidance. And I believe shamans do the same thing. Uniting the material world with the spirit world is one way, being a bridge between those two so that we can come to our understanding of our wholeness again. And that's what yoga is to me as well, coming to an understanding of our wholeness that's already there, that can't go anywhere. So I wanted to bring this up during this particular time because one of the things I'm noticing in myself as well, and in the world around me, and my world meaning, my community in some ways, and then a little bit beyond for people that I have contact with around the United States and beyond. I'm noticing a lot of kind of rushing to find things to do to fill the time and the space as we've been asked to be more secluded. Rushing out to make sure we have things, or rushing to make sure everyone can have things to do at home, videos to watch. I'm doing it myself. I'm here in my empty studio that I needed to close for, safety and health reasons. And I'm gonna video some things to share with the people that I have in my dance and yoga world. And it just dawned on me too to also take this time, and this is something I'm planning on doing more of, to take this time to also allow yoga to be the union of the mind and the body with the spirit, with the true self. Higher self is another way to think of it. Sometimes I've learned to say bringing the small self down to zero so that I can align the small self with my true self and be guided. And I was talking with someone earlier today, and we came up with this great little 3-step process to just listen within. And the first step was ask for guidance. The second step, listen within. And the third step was follow the guidance. Super simple. And if you aren't feeling that you can get to that place of being okay with being silent and still, then the other 3-step process I was reminded of that I've been using for years is starting with clapping your hands, or snapping if you're good at that. I'm not great at that. And saying, be here now. That's step 1. Step 2, look around and find something that you can be authentically grateful for that's tangible. Something you can see, feel, taste, touch, hear. I think I got them all. And I brought you something to demonstrate. It's pretty amazing. I found this stone in Georgia recently, and it looks like an arrowhead. I did find it in an area that would be congruent with my ancestors, actually, the Creek or Muskogee Indians. Don't know if it's an arrowhead or not, but I'm super grateful for this. So step number 3 is, once you've found the thing you're grateful for, start doing exactly what I just did. Authentically talk about what you love about it, or even write it down, or both. So maybe I might say, I love that this stone, I couldn't really fully wash off all of the red clay, so it's kind of a reminder of that red clay. This particular stone reminds me of direction. So kind of like what I'm asking for direction, and I'm listening within to find it, and then my next step is follow it. An arrow, too, is very precise. If we take the time to pull back the bow, find the mark, and then let the arrow go. It's not precise if I rush. It's not precise if I don't have a focus. And in the world of yoga, the Sanskrit word that we use for focus is drishti. So finding your drishti, finding your focus, coming into stillness. And I guess I'm just offering the idea that maybe we not fill this time so much with activities, even though those are great, but what if we just took the time to also sit in stillness, ask for guidance, listen within, follow the guidance. That's all I've got for today. I wish you well, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.